Hey, Blake T. Wild here, and we are officially in the scariest month of the year. Halloween is almost upon us! And because of that, I am covering a horrific comic each week here on my series, What Is? And make sure to also stay tuned for another 5-week-long spooky series called The Nightmare Arcade, where I am playing 5 different horror games each week of October. But you all have been demanding it since the release of my last Marvel Zombies video, Marvel Zombies Volume 2. Check out those first 2 on the channel, available now. That you want Marvel Zombies. I get it. I love Marvel Zombies just as much as you. Maybe more since I made those custom action figures that I never cleaned. But I cannot continue covering the series without going back in time and discussing this 5-issue prequel series that involves one of my personal favorite horror film franchises, Evil Dead. Or more specifically, Army of Darkness, because of some sort of legal issues, I assume. And before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content just like this, and leave any suggestions down below in the comments for what Ultimate Marvel comics I should be covering, or you want to see me cover, or specific Ultimate Marvel storylines as well. Let me know. Released in 2007, written by John Layman, with art by Fabiano Neves, and colors by Jun Chung. This is Marvel Zombies vs. Army of Darkness. Now here's the thing, gentlemen and lady, based on my statistics on YouTube. This is a strange oddity in the comic world because it's a crossover with Dynamite Comics' Army of Darkness series into a popular Marvel comic. This is also the beginning of insane crossovers between Ash Williams and other characters. Prior to this, he'd come across the Reanimator, Herbert West, the Lovecraft character who from the film adaptation Reanimator, and Darkman, you know, the Liam Neeson horror superhero by Sam Raimi. But it wouldn't be until a couple months after this book is released that Dynamite Entertainment and Wildstorm, of all people, would co-publish Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, which was a 6-issue series that spawned another 6-issue series, Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, The Nightmare Warriors. And I was really hoping to do some like little nerdy research like I do in a couple of the videos where I'm really into the stuff, and like find some articles or something about Marvel Zombies vs. Army of Darkness, maybe like how it came together, what people were saying before it came out at the time, like the creators of it from just way back when, nearly 20 years ago when this book was released. But no dice! All I got was this forum called Superhero Hype, where there's a discussion about the general consensus of the book, which seemed like everybody enjoyed it when it came out. And then I found another forum discussion on statueforum.com asking, is She-Hulk a slut? And now that came up because one comment asking about a user's avatar image being zombie Black Widow eating an animal from this comic. The website is so old it hasn't been updated, meaning that these images that they're referencing are no longer available to even see. But that was just a disappointing experience for me. And I'm sure I bet you thought this was leading somewhere. It's not. Let's get right into the book. The story technically starts in the Army of Darkness storyline Death of Ash, where Ash is ripped from his own body, which is then taken over by evil Ash, and arrives in an endless void of nothing. Then a bright light appears before him, and Ash starts to move towards it. Then we cut to the present, and on Earth 2149, a tear in the fabric of reality opens in an alleyway of New York City, and out drops Ashley J. Williams. He lands hard in a dumpster and lies there for a few moments, composing himself as a haggard figure stumbles towards him, groaning. Ash tosses a can at the homeless woman and tells her to scram, then he keeps chucking garbage to drive her away as he tries to figure out where the hell he is. He walks out of the alleyway and realizes he's in New York City! And Ash witnesses Daredevil and Thunderbolt of the Wrecking Crew fighting in the streets. Ash figures he should probably put a stop to these two freaks from hurting someone and tries to decide who's the good guy, the one using a construction tool as an artificial appendage, or the one dressed like a devil. Ash revs up his chainsaw hand and prepares to leap into the fray when...
Ashley William!
Oh, I thought I was rid of you, you old biddy.
No matter where you travel, as long as you live, you will never be rid of the Necronomicon! Heed my warning, Ashley Williams. We have seen the future. This world will die, and an army of the dead will rise!
Oh, yeah? Well, here's what I think of that. All right, you wrinkled up sack of deadite scum. Next on the menu, crone cutlets.
Daredevil takes notice, incapacitates Thunderball, and attacks Ash. But Thunderball comes back quick and slams Daredevil with his wrecking ball right into the side of a building. Thunderball thanks Ash for the help and they shake hands before Ash tells him he's just doing his part to save the day. Not much later, Ash sits outside of a cafe reading a Daily Bugle newspaper and looks over some articles about Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four's interdimensional breakthrough, and how the Avengers just saved the Eastern Seaboard. Ash concludes that he's in a world full of costume clown amateurs, but if the Deadites are really as much of a threat as he thinks, he'd better go get some help. And he makes his way to the Avengers mansion in Central Park. The voice of Jarvis comes over the speaker at the gate asking for Ash's name and nature of his business, and Ash blows it up with his boomstick. The Avengers quickly arrive on the scene. Luke Cage hoists Ash into the air as Thor ruins his boomstick. Ash wriggles his way out of Luke's grip and tells these weirdos that he has information on some dire apocalyptic shit and Deadites. Of course, they have no idea what a Deadite is, but Colonel America is open-minded and asks Ash to just slow down and properly explain himself. Ash reveals that he found this out after a possessed bag lady told him, and then says that he knows it sounds crazy, but it's not. He's fought Deadites through time, and now he's somehow ended up in a completely new dimension where Deadites are coming for him, and the entire world is in jeopardy. Then Scarlet Witch uses her powers to teleport him away. Jarvis emerges and informs the Avengers that they've received reports of something odd happening in Midtown. Ash, however, winds up in Central Park's pond. He kicks some ducks away in anger, and then notices the encroaching clouds and the sudden rupture of purple and red lightning. And then he remembers how he got here. When Ash was in the void, he was walking in a sea of people towards a white light, when some prick with big old wings told him that he can't bring his chainsaw or shotgun with him. But before Ash can start arguing with St. Peter, I guess, screams emerge from behind them. Ash spins around to find Robert Reynolds, the Sentry of Earth 9/11/24, devouring a pile of corpses. The Sentry swivels his head around and lunges for Ash, who shoots him to no avail, and Sentry slams Ash, tearing him through reality. Back in the now, Ash races down the streets of New York, crying out to anyone who will listen that the world is going to end, and tries to get as many people out of the streets as possible. Unfortunately, they're all too focused on the weird weather patterns and the approaching Quinjet. The Avengers arrive at the scene, and Ash asks if these bozos are finally ready to listen to him. Spider-Man also arrives at that same time, and he and Colonel America talk about the situation and the weird guy with the duffel bag who's raving and ranting to the Avengers. And the Colonel asks if Spidey can do them a favor. So Spidey swings away from the scene as lightning strikes, with Ash wrapped up tightly in a web cocoon. Ash exclaims that the papers are right and that he really is a menace, as he pleads for Spider-Man to listen to him about the Deadites and the impending doom and end of the world. Spidey is apprehensive to believe this crazy man with a robot hand. Makes sense. But the description that Ash gave him of the big monster fella sounds familiar, and as lightning explodes in the sky over the city, Ash watches in horror as the Sentry devouring and destroying the Avengers. Spidey and Ash watch in horror as Ash explains that he's never seen Deadites like this before. But then again, he's in a universe full of people who wear spandex, so maybe they're different here. Then Spidey swings back towards the carnage, looking for anyone in immediate harm's way. He swings down and saves a woman from being mauled by the Avengers, and explains to Ash that he won't let innocent people die, and that once the Avengers have been cured, they'll have a hard enough time coming to terms with what they've done. Ash tells him he has a screw loose if he thinks that's gonna happen, and that this nightmarish existence is the new normal. Spidey drops the woman off at her apartment building and takes off, cutting back across New York with Ash through Midtown. Spidey says that he's sticking with him, no pun intended, until he gets some real answers about these Deadites. Ash suggests they try to find the Necronomicon, the ancient Sumerian Book of the Dead, if it even exists in this world. Spidey says that they have to hope it does, and that he knows just the master of mysticism who would know about it. Then they swing low past some buildings, and Colonel America dives off of the roof and slams his zombie teeth directly into Spider-Man's shoulder. He grips onto the webhead, causing Spidey to drop Ash into the very alley he started in. Now he's trapped in a big web cocoon. Ash, in a daze, tries to wriggle his way out, but then Hawkeye, Luke Cage, and Miss Marvel come across him. But before they can act, Spidey leaps down onto Hawkeye's shoulders and wraps his jaw around his head and threatens to eat his brains unless they step away from Ash.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Spidey.
And it's not because we're already dead and don't breathe.
We taste terrible.
Just let the mouth go. Leave him. He's mine. So what's the big deal with this guy? There's an entire city out there. There's an entire world. Exactly. So what's one more guy? I'm the one who had to lug him all around the city and listen to his non-stop nonsense.
Go ahead and eat Hawkeye. One less mouth to feed means more for the rest of us.
Honest. Hey, where do you think you're going?
Hey, let me go, you super freak. I told you already. I'm here to save you. I'm your last best hope for putting a stop to this dead-eyed monster plague going around.
You got it all wrong, dude. You can't stop us. And we don't really want saving. Knock it off, all of you. We might need Clint later, and we're still a team, even if our priorities have changed. Go for it, Spidey. You want to dine on jackass tartar and not share? Be our guest. Just find us when you're finished.
Spidey forces Ash out of the cocoon and makes him hold on as he swings away. Then when they get far enough and land on a roof, Spidey lets Ash down and Ash clocks him right in the face. Then he removes his chainsaw from his bag and prepares to destroy the masked menace. Spidey shouts for him to stop and then removes his mask to reveal he's still human. He explains that he actually dislocated his jaw when Colonel America tackled him and that his healing factor seems to be working overtime to stave off the infection. And as the two walk to the edge of the roof to look out over the growing decimation of the city. Ash remarks that anyone who goes outside today is not safe, and Peter realizes that he's forgotten all about Aunt May and Mary Jane. And he pulls his mask on, apologizes for leaving Ash, but tells him to just wait here on the roof until he gets back.
What happened to helping me find the Necronomicon and stopping this, you lily-livered spider sack of crap? What happened to no more innocents die on my watch, huh? Who needs him?
This is New York City. Nobody's innocent.
Punisher interrogates Ash on his standing with Spider-Man, and then compliments the chainsaw on what the hell he's doing up here. Ash asks if he hasn't noticed the fucking apocalypse going on, and Punisher heads down the stairwell and says that he'll get to that next. So the two travel down the stairs as Ash explains that he needs to find the Necronomicon to reverse all this, and that he could really use the firepower Punisher's got. Frank introduces himself as the Punisher and says that if Ash helps him with what he's currently doing, he'll help Ash find the book. As they arrive at a resplendent floor of the building, Punisher places a plastic explosive on the doors, blows it open, and finds Kingpin, Hammerhead, and the Owl inside. Kingpin orders his men to stand down and tells Punisher to get over himself because the world is ending and in chaos, and they're now on the same team because they have to fight for the very survival of the human race. Punisher tells Fisk he was never human and guns them all down. Then he walks out of the office and changes his mission to handling the Deadites and helping Ash. Sometime later, the two sit in the back of the immense lobby of Fisk Tower, hiding in the shadows as they watch the runaways devour Old Lace and the Blob getting chased by a gang of zombies. Punisher surmises that they're going to need more guns, and he hands his bag over to Ash, explaining that he has enough firepower to level half of Manhattan at his hideout. Then he tells Ash to get ready with 2 new magazines. Ash is not happy with being a leading man who has to play second fiddle to a guy with a big skull on his t-shirt and matching belt that looks like the skull's teeth. But Frank doesn't listen to his objections, and then Ash spots Thunderball outside, fending off the encroaching plague of zombies. And this part just gets really emotional, because we get a close-up look of his face as he's crying and scared and begging the zombies, who include his former friends, the Wrecking Crew, crew to stay away from him. Ash says that they have to help him, but Punisher says that he's nothing more than criminal scum. And then he kicks out the doors of Fisk Tower, runs out guns blazing at the horde of zombies. And he unloads on them and realizes that most are still standing and begins firing again. Then he runs out of ammo and calls to Ash for a resupply as he backs up, unaware that the Angel has landed behind him, and the Punisher is devoured. Over on my Etsy shop, BlakeTWild.etsy.com, you can purchase issues 1 and 2 of the Custodians Agents of Cross. Each issue is over 50 pages of pure comics for only $15. You won't find a better deal like that for Marvel or DC these days. What happens when the fate of the world rests on the shoulders of an intelligent baboon, the world's smartest man who has the power of elasticity but only in his right arm, a pyrokinetic teenager, and a 4-armed werewolf? I also have all 5 issues of Destructo Boy available there as well. What's that? You don't like physical comics? Well, great, because over on my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos, I have all the issues available digitally, published on there for only $2.
Whack jobs, hard cases, Looney Tunes, I tell you, every last one of them, this entire world is nuts and was probably nuts long before the Dead-Eye Cannibals showed up. I had it right all along to begin with. Steer clear of those super losers, get the job done myself. Ash Williams works best with Ash Williams. Last thing I need is some deadweight wannabes hero dragging me down. Oh. Then again...
Get off of me!
No can do, doll. You look so sweet, so delectable. Give me some sugar.
Sorry, Bunky. That's my line.
Oh my god, thank you. Is he...
Boomstick blast straight through the coconut. Trust me, babe. He's not coming back from that one.
I'm Allison. Allison Blair. But they call me Dazzler.
Ooh, baby. They are right.
Do you mind?
Whoa, take it easy. Name's Ash. I'm just checking for zombie bites. Can't be too careful, you know.
So Ash and Dazzler cautiously make their way through the ruined city streets as he gives her the rundown of what's happened both to himself and the world. He asks if she knows anyone or anywhere they can go to find information on the Necronomicon, and she has a very good idea. They need to go to Greenwich Village.
Alright, are you sure you know where you're going, Disco Queen? Not that I'm complaining. I'd follow you anywhere, especially with a view like this. It's just
Would you
that...
be quiet? And yes, I know where I'm going. Look, Whittaker Street. We're in the right neighborhood. Come on, it's just up ahead. Okay, well, it looks like Dr. Strange is home, too. Guy knows all about magic and the occult. If he's not in possession of the book you're looking for, at least he'll know where to find it. And if that Necronomicon thing is behind this, like you say, then that means we're one step closer to stopping all of this and saving the world.
Tastes like chicken.
Ashley Williams always figured he was meant for greater things, being a hero, vanquishing the villains, saving the world, getting the girl. Instead, he was working the dead-end shift at the Smart Housewares department, all day, every day. Besides, in this world, there were already enough heroes, none of whom Ash found particularly impressive. As far as he was concerned, these so-called heroes were more trouble than they were worth. A philosophy which was confirmed one fateful afternoon when the superheroes started catching and spreading an infection which turned them into insatiable cannibal zombies. And Ash decided that this day was the day that he would step up and become the hero he was always meant to be. He saw a lot of things that were unspeakably terrible that day. Other things that were unbelievably strange. But amidst it all of the spectacle, weirdness, and abject horror, certainly the single strangest thing was when Ashley G. Williams came face to face with Ashley J. Williams.
Especially with a view like this.
We're in the right neighborhood. Come on, it's just up ahead.
What went through the head of the Ash of this universe was almost indescribable. A perplexing sensation of deja vu mingled with the bittersweet regret of a lifetime of alternate choices. But mostly, what went through that Ash's head at that particular moment in time was the blood-drenched bill of an anthropomorphized extraterrestrial infected zombie duck.
Dazzler uses her powers to blind the zombified Howard, but he continues his rampage towards her, but suddenly Ash reappears and sends his chainsaw straight through Howard's body. Dazzler is shocked by what she just saw, then Howard keeps coming after Ash, but the Scarlet Witch uses her magic to freeze him, and Ash shatters the duck with a swift kick. Ash and the ladies look over the dead Ashley G. Williams, realize that he must be this universe's version of him, and Dazzler and Scarlet Witch finally believe Ash's story of coming from another world. Wanda reveals what happened to her and the rest of the Avengers. Colonel America put out an SOS to the Avengers to all assemble the entire roster, reserve members and all, but it was a trap, and she narrowly escaped. But she remembered Ash's earlier rantings and figured that, hey, she had a chance of finding him here at Doctor Strange's place, or at least finding the Necronomicon herself and figuring out how to stop all this. Wanda laments what happened to her friends and teammates and partner, the Vision. Ash asks if they can get a move on, and inside, instead of just hanging out in the middle of the street at night. Dazzler tells Wanda that Strange has got to know something and that she saw him inside the sanctum when they arrived. But Wanda reveals that Strange was actually aboard the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier after Nick Fury gathered as many superpowered survivors as he could to form a defensive resistance against the infected earlier.
Dr. Druid.
I'm so sorry. My hunger, it's been temporarily sated, but I've been using my mystical abilities to keep the infection at bay. I came to find Stephen in hopes that he could help, but he was already gone. And then it overtook me, and I attacked poor Wong. But I feel so lucid, and I know what I'm doing is wrong. It's like the more I eat, the hungrier I become. But as of now, I have the control over myself. I can feel the control.
Yeah, alright, buddy. If you can just keep it together for a few minutes, you know where the library's at in this place?
Yes, it is upstairs. Just...
That was far too risky keeping him around. Let's go.
Watch and learn, ladies. Watch and learn. Alright, listen up, you mangy heaps of putrid parchment. I need some info about one of your own. A real nasty piece of work called the Necronomicon. And I need to know where it is pronto. And you're gonna tell me.
Get that, flesh bag.
Wrong answer. Okay, let's try this again without the attitude. You're gonna tell me what I want to know, or am I gonna have to abridge some of your more delicate pages?
Okay, take it easy. I'll tell you what you need to know.
This evil book gives a very detailed report of what the Necronomicon is before Ash shuts up its dumb book face and tells him to spit out where it is. And the book reveals it's in Latveria. Ash is excited to finally get some knowledge, and Dazzler and Scarlet Witch are not. But Wanda reveals that she has a Quinjet landed nearby. A few hours later, they arrive at Latveria and discover that Doomstadt is partially decimated and currently besieged by some zombified superheroes, particularly Goliath. How did the world fall apart so quickly, you may ask? Well, in the early hours of the infection in New York, none other than Quicksilver was racing through the city in search of his sister Wanda, but when he found her, he quickly learned it was actually a mistake, and things fell apart immediately. Before S.H.I.E.L.D. could preemptively strike, Quicksilver had made his way across the continental United States, Canada, Central, and South America, and was beginning to cross the oceans. And back in the present, Dr. Doom prepares to kill Ash for ridiculing him. Ash apologizes in his own way, and Doom is just so done with him that he just kind of gives up and demands that Wanda explain why they're there. She tells him about Ash, the Deadites, the infection, the Necronomicon, all that stuff. Ash demands access to his weird magic book, but Doom leads them to his vast research facility beneath the castle and reveals that the Necronomicon has nothing to do with the zombies. The infection's origins is extraterrestrial, not supernatural, and it's actually a pan-dimensional infection that has found its way to their reality. Dazzler pleads to at least try to use the Necronomicon, but Doom declines and orders his Doombots to escort Ash to the cells because he doesn't trust him. Then Doom orders his people to unleash their arsenal onto a Goliath outside to stop that incessant slamming upon their force field, and Ash is removed with prejudice from the lab. Doom reveals to Dazzler and Scarlet Witch that he gathered what citizens of Latveria he could into Doomstadt and have them held in safety in the lower levels of the castle. Wanda asks where the children and the elderly are, and Doom reveals that he has only collected those of proper breeding age to ensure the continuation of the species.
Oh, yeah, you're some hero, Doom.
You want to talk of heroes, Miss Blair? Who do you think hastened humanity's decline? None other than Reed Richards, your do-gooder. Did you know he purposely infected himself, convinced he was elevating himself into a higher, more efficient life form? He first infected the other members of his ludicrous quartet, so that they could in turn spread it to him. Then they all could pass it on to others. So do not speak to me of heroes, Dazzler, nor you, Scarlet Witch. Your friends will be here soon to attack once again. And when their supply of food deteriorates, they will realize the last reserve of living meat is under my roof, under my protection, and we will begin our plans shortly. But in the meantime, I shall show you the hospitality Doom extends to those with his welcome.
Ash lies in a prison cell and ponders, building a lockpick into his robot hand. Then Wanda shows up and breaks him out. They sneak through the halls of Doomstadt until a Doombot finds them. Wanda quickly destroys it, but this gives Ash an idea. He tells her to keep Doom occupied while he finds the Necronomicon. And shortly after, Doom marches into his arcane Athenium and locates the Necronomicon. Ash removes his mask and comes face to book face with the Necronomicon, who recognizes him as the Chosen One. He demands that the book tell him how this all started and how to stop it. But the book ain't talking, so Ash equips his hand with a Doombot and prepares to blast it. The Necronomicon then laughs and says that it actually really did have no part in the plague that is destroying the world. Ash demands to know why it sent the message of the army of the dead rising through that old woman, and the book says it was technically true. Ash demands to know why they did this to him, and the Necronomicon reveals it's very spiteful and sent that message just to ridicule him because he's trapped in a world where there's no hope of escaping, and that he's definitely gonna die at the hands of these weird zombies. The book laughs more as Ash marches out of the library in dismay, but then a voice, a siren-like voice, calls out to him. It's the voice of the Enchantress. She tells Ash that Doom imprisoned her here due to her powers and capabilities, and the sexy blonde asks Ash to free her. So he does, and he leads her through the castle and suggests that they need to find Dazzler and Scarlet Witch and maybe even recruit the Latverian refugees in the castle to overthrow Doom. Then Dazzler and Scarlet Witch appear and tell Ash to step away from her immediately, and the zombified Enchantress attacks them. Dazzler tackles Ash out of harm's way and blasts the Enchantress, but her finger is bitten off, and then both of their heads are destroyed by Dr. Doom. As he prepares to destroy Ash for being a dangerous fool, Wanda steps between them. And suddenly, a servant races up and informs Doom that the infected supers have returned, and that there's a lot of them. Colonel America leads the assault, and the entire castle begins rumbling from the non-stop attack. The intensity finally breaks through the force field, and a group of zombies break through. Doom is captured by Reed Richards, and Ash turns to escape with Wanda, but discovers that she's been attacked by the Punisher. She pleads with him to find the Necronomicon and stop all of this, and he dreadfully reveals that Doom was right, unless... and he runs away through the castle. Ash returns to the library and tells the book that once the zombies make their way through the castle, they will no doubt eat up a sentient book that is written in human blood and bound in human skin. And the book never thought about that and asks what Ash's plan is. Then a true army of the dead is risen, and a Deadite legion face off against the zombie infection. But the Deadites really don't stand a chance and serve the true purpose of a distraction for the zombie horde currently in Latveria. Ash finds his way down to the sublevels of the castle and finds Doom, who managed to escape the horde and cordon himself and the Latverians off from the zombies. Doom is currently using his dimensional teleporter to send the Latverians to a new, safe world that he discovered and waits for the final refugees to escape. Then Ash makes himself known, and Doom reveals that he was infected. He's just holding it off, seemingly through the sheer force of an indomitable will. But he does tell Ash that since he facilitated a diversion that allowed Doom to escape the zombies and free his people to safety, he'll allow Ash to escape through the teleporter as well. Then Doom explains how the teleporter is programmed to reset every 5 seconds, randomly switching between worlds now that the Latverians are away. And after Ash goes through, Doom will destroy it to ensure the zombies cannot use it. Ash sticks his head through and watches as the strange worlds flash before his eyes. Then he finds one that seems to work, tosses the Necronomicon on the floor, and heads through. Then the zombies break down the barriers and arrive just as Doom destroys the advice, and the thing clobbers him. And in the familiar streets of New York City, Ash figures that he's finally home. Or at least close enough, and in a place with no more zombies. He rounds a corner and finds werewolf superheroes having just finished devouring Galactus. The end. I hope you enjoyed this climactic ending to my 5-week Halloween spooktacular series on What Is. Let me know what you thought of this book in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts because I love this crossover. I love Evil Dead, I love Marvel Zombies. Like I said in the DC East video, the initial outbreak of stories like this and how characters deal with that is my favorite aspect of the zombie apocalypse genre. And this had that in spades. It's so cool seeing a normal guy like Ash having to maneuver his way through a crumbling New York City that is riddled with not just regular zombies, but superhero zombies. It's just such a fun story, very in character for Ash as well. I never felt like it didn't feel like Ash Williams. All the characters work so well, and it's a fun standalone crossover. And it's also a really good prequel side story spin-off to the original Marvel Zombies. Because it fleshes out, no pun intended, the world just before and then during the outbreak. And honestly, I kind of like this comic more than the actual Marvel Zombies. It is a strange art style, I will say. Then that was something that I noticed going back and rereading this for the video. Like early on, there's occasional signs that seem like it's they're tracing figures, they're tracing Ash's face, but it works. I feel like it really works. It doesn't detract in my mind. I've always loved the gritty, grimy style that this book has. Ever since I first read it, the coloring and the art just work just hand in hand for these final dark days of this Marvel universe, and it adds such an ill, sickly filter over these classic, colorful characters. And the visuals are just so well done and look great. And like I said, I always dug this still stylized yet somewhat realistic look for the book. And again, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Leave any suggestions for Ultimate Marvel comics in the comments. And check out my Etsy shop, blaketwild.etsy.com. Follow me on Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos. And find me on any social media at NotBlakeWild. Check out my podcast, the Comic Shtick Podcast, where comics are my shtick. And I will see you next time. Bye.